In this video, I'm going to cover Chapter 1, Section 1.1, which is an introduction to logic. So we're going to start with true-false statements, or TF for short, for true-false. A true-false statement is a declarative sentence to which we can assign a truth value of either true or false, but not both at the same time, which makes sense, right? You really can't have a statement that's both true and false at the same time. It's one or the other. So let's look at some examples. So one says today is Thursday. That's a declarative sentence, right? That's a true-false statement. For number two, we have the statement sit down. Now that's not a true-false, a declarative sentence to which we can assign a true-false value. And number three, how old are you? It's a question, right? So again, we can't assign a value of either true or false. So the only declarative sentence in these first three examples to which we can assign a truth value of either true or false is the first one. Today is Thursday. That could either be true or false. Now we're going to represent true-false statements using variables. In our book for this class, the variables used are lowercase letters. So for example, here, lowercase p would represent the month of September has 30 days. In other textbooks, capital letters might be used, but for our book, we're going to pretty much use lowercase letters. Now, it is possible to negate a true-false statement, which in other words is just going to change its truth value. So if we negate a true statement, then it becomes a false statement. And if we have a false statement and we negate it, then it becomes a true statement. So that's all we're doing when we're negating the value of a true-false statement. Any true-false statement may be negated by using the word not. It may also be negated by placing the words, "it is not true that," in front of the statement. So we're going to use this symbol, the negation symbol, whenever we want to negate a statement or say it is not true that. So if we negated P, we would read this as not P. So whenever we have the negation symbol in front of a variable, we say not, and then whatever the variable is, in this case, P. So again, the negation symbol is also used to mean it is not true that. So for example, if we let P represent today is Wednesday, then not P, right? If I stick the negation symbol in front of P, that means today is not Wednesday. Now it's possible to join two true-false statements. A connective is a word or a group that we can use to join the two statements. So we're going to have four different connectives. Conjunction, which is, think of it as and the symbol we use looks like a triangle without a bottom. A disjunction, which we use the word or, we join two statements using the word or. And we have this symbol, which looks like a V. It's really just the upside down version of a conjunction. We're able to form a conditional statement called if then, if we use an arrow pointing to the right. And then the last connective is the biconditional, which we would say if and only if, and it's the double-ended arrow. And we're going to go through all four cases and we'll do a whole bunch of examples. So if a true false statement doesn't contain if a true false statement does not contain a connective, it is just called a simple statement. But if we have two or more simple statements joined by one or more connectives, then we call it a compound statement. So if we join two true-false statements by the word and, we call the resulting compound statement the conjunction of the two true-false statements. And remember, here's the symbol for and, right? It looks like the triangle without a bottom. So we would read this as PNQ. or P conjunction Q, but I feel like more likely than not, we're going to say P and Q. We can also interchange the words but and and. So in logic, the word but also means and. So let's look at an example. So number 1 says, let S be the statement Andrew likes to swim. Let R be the statement Andrew likes to run. So the conjunction would be Andrew likes to swim and run. And if we wanted to use symbols, it would be S and R, and I would use the appropriate symbol, right, for conjunction. So let's do the next two. So number 2 says, let A be today is Tuesday. Let B be the statement NCC is on a Monday schedule today. So I want you to write the statement A and B in words. That's what we're going to do here. So A is today is Tuesday. So today is Tuesday. And we have a conjunction. So we use the word and now B, the second statement, which is NCC is on a Monday schedule today. So today is Tuesday and NCC is on a Monday schedule today. Let's look at number 3. Let C be the statement I like to swim. Let D be the statement I like to run. So I want to write the compound statement C and not D. So you see how I have the negation symbol in front of the D and we're using a conjunction. So C is I like to swim. And then my conjunction but we're negating D. So I do not like to run. So that compound statement would read, I like to swim and I do not like to run. So really what we're doing in this section is we're practicing using the connectives and going back and forth between, the written out representation of the sentence or the compound statement versus using symbols, just getting comfortable with notation. If a conjunction contains 2 negated statements, for example, here, not P and not Q, we sometimes read the statement neither P nor Q. So for example, look at number 4. If M represents today is Monday and W represents today is Wednesday, how would I write not M and not W? So we can say today is neither Monday nor Wednesday, right? Today is neither Monday nor Wednesday because both statements are being negated. So now let's practice using the disjunction symbol, which is, think of it as or. So if we join 2 true-false statements by the word or, the resulting compound statement is called the disjunction of the 2 statements. And the symbol that we use looks like the V. So we would read the disjunction statement P or Q or P disjunction Q. So sometimes we use the word either instead of or. But typically we're going to use or whenever we see the disjunction symbol. So look at example 5. Let P represent I will pass my math class. Let S represent I will go to summer school. So the disjunction of the 2 statements, P or S, would be either I pass my math class or I will go to summer school. So let's do one together. So either we will go to the movies or go out to dinner. So I want to take that sentence and I want to write it using symbols. So typically the word that's the letter that's underlined in the simple statement is the letter that we're going to use to represent the statement. So we will go to the movies as M, and we will go out to dinner as D, because you see the D is underlined. So the M is underlined and the D. So we would say either we will go to the movies or go out to dinner. So M or D. And that's how we would write it. So now let's go over the conditional. So given two statements, P and Q, a compound statement of the form if P then Q is called a conditional or an implication. The symbol that we use is an arrow that's pointing to the right. And the way we would say it is, so if we were to write it, it's P with the arrow pointing towards the Q, and we could say P implies Q, or another way to say it is if P then Q. The left-hand side of the conditional statement P, we call it the antecedent, and the right-hand side of the conditional statement Q is called the consequent. So informally, we say that wherever the if appears in the English sentence, it must be represented as the antecedent, the left-hand side of the conditional statement. Because you're going to see in an example that we're going to do in a minute, the if statement appears second, but when you write it, you have to write it in the form if then. And you'll see what I mean when we get to that example. So look at number 7. So number 7 says, let S be I will study. Let P represent I will pass. So the statement we have here, whoops. So the statement I have here is if S, then P. So in other words, if I study, then P, which is I will pass. So this would be the conditional statement. If I study, then I will pass. But this is what I was talking about a minute ago. You see this example 8, it says, let S, I will go swimming. Let O be the sun is out. You see this statement, I will go swimming if the sun is out. So the antecedent is the sun is out. That's the if part. So another way to say this is, if the sun is out, then I will go swimming. So sometimes in words, it could be written where the consequent statement is first and then the antecedent is written second. But the antecedent always has to be written on the left side. So let's use O for, oh no, we already have the letter stated. I'm sorry. Above we have S and O. So we would say if the sun is out, so if O, then I will go swimming, which is going to be S. So that's how we would write it. O implies S. And then we have biconditionals. So a biconditional statement is formed when two statements P and Q are joined by the words if and only if. And the symbol that we use is that double-ended arrow. So notice that the symbol for the biconditional has a double-headed arrow. And it looks like it actually got cut off in the notes here. There should be the double-headed arrow there. So what this means is that if P then Q and if Q then P. So it's really the same as P implies Q and Q implies P. So let's look at number 9. So let S represent I study. Let G represent I get a good grade. So we have a biconditional statement here, right? We see that double-headed arrow. So if and only if. So the first statement is I study, right? That's S. Then we have the biconditional statement, if and only if I get a good grade. So that's how we would write S if and only if G. I study if and only if I get a good grade. And then let's look at the second one. So we have another biconditional statement, but now we have the negation of G. G is negated, right? If and only if the negation of S. So let's write that one in words. So we have not G, which is I will not get a good grade, and not S would be I will not study or I do not study. So we have not G if and only if, not S. So we would say I will not get a good grade if and only if I do not study. We could also remember order doesn't matter with the biconditional. So we could also say, if I do not study, or I will not study if and only if I do not get a good grade. And then for S, the one above it, S biconditional G, we could say it the other way around also. I will get a good grade if and only if I study. So I could either say, I will study if and only if I get a good grade, or I will get a good grade if and only if I will study or if I study. So just reinforcing that in a biconditional statement, order doesn't matter, but it does in a conditional statement. So with the conditional statement, the if then order does matter. It doesn't necessarily work both ways. The meaning in terms of the truth value of the statement. So last, let me just go over the role of parentheses in these compound statements. So oftentimes compound statements have more than one connective. So we can have a statement that has 3 or 4 connectives. So if we were to write this sentence in English, we would use commas because that separates ideas. In logic, we're going to use parentheses, but they're going to mean the same thing. So look. Let's look at number 10. Classify these sentences as either a negation, conjunction, disjunction, conditional, or biconditional, and symbolize using the underlined letters. So let's go over part A. So A says, if freezing follows either snow or rain, then the roads will become icy. So we have 3 different statements here. So we're going to use S for if freezing follows snow, R for freezing follows rain, and then I, the roads will become icy. So we're using S, R, and I. But the way the comma presents itself in this statement is after the or, right? After the or statement. So if freezing follows either snow or rain, so that snow or rain is going to be grouped in parentheses. And that's going to be the if portion, because if you look at the big picture, all this is an if then statement. So it's going to be a conditional. But the antecedent, right, is if freezing follows either snow or rain, so S or R, then, so now my arrow, the statement, the roads will become icy, which is I. So even though there's an or in there, right? What type of sentence is this? So this is a conditional. It's an if-then statement, right? But we had to use parentheses to group the or statement together. So let's look at the next one. She will take calculus or statistics, but if she takes economics, then she will not take history. So remember, but can be interchanged with "and." And the comma comes before the end, right? So this is going to be a conjunction. We're going to join these two compound statements with the end. So we have an or joining the left-hand side, right? And we're going to keep that statement together using parentheses, right? Because this is included before the comma. So she will take calculus or statistics, but or and if she takes economics, then she will not take history. So now we have an if then statement for the other part, right, of this compound statement. So if she takes economics, then she will not take history. So we have a negation here, right? So we're going to negate H because she will not take history. And we said that this is going to be a conjunction, right? So the big picture is that this is an and statement. So we have a conjunction. And the antecedent, the left-hand side of the conjunction is a disjunction, right? C or S. And then the right-hand side is a conditional. And then we'll do one more. If she has a bronze medal, then she did not win. But if she has a silver medal, then she came in second. So the way the comma presents itself in here, right? We have a couple different commas. You see how we have an if-then statement, then we have a comma and but, which remember is and then we have another if-then statement. If she has a silver medal, then she came in second. So the big picture is going to be that this is an and statement, right? Or a conjunction. And the left-hand side of it, so let's do the left-hand side first. So it's going to be if she has a bronze medal, so if B, then she did not win. So not W, right? We have to negate winning. And or but, now if she has a silver medal, so if S, then she came in second, which we're denoting with D, right? So if S, then D. And again, we have a conjunction. So this wraps up section 1.1. Yeah, this was the last example. So this wraps up section 1.1, and I have a homework for you that's for section 1.1 from the book that's gonna let you practice all the different, ideas in this first section. It's really gonna get you familiar with simple statements and compound statements and using symbols. And in the next video, we will cover section 1.2.